My name is Rebecca Chen. I'm 27 years old, and the night my mother told me no one would miss me if I died, I was holding a secret that would destroy her perfect family in less than 60 seconds. We were all sitting at the family dinner table, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, when my mom raised her glass, looked straight at me with that smug smile she always wore, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "If you died tomorrow, no one would even miss you." The laughter hit like a slap. My Aunt Linda cackled so hard she nearly choked on her wine. My cousins, Jennifer and Mark, snickered into their hands like middle schoolers hearing a dirty joke. Uncle Tom slapped the table, wheezing, and my father, my own father, chuckled into his napkin like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just sat there, waiting for the laughter to die down, because I'd been waiting for this moment for months. If you want to see how one sentence destroyed my mother's entire world, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, because what happened next changed everything. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand what led to that moment. My family, the Chens of Riverside, California, looked perfect on paper. My mother, Patricia, was a real estate agent who sold luxury homes and posted about family values on Facebook every Sunday. My father, David, worked in finance and said very little about anything that mattered. And then there was my brother, Marcus, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Marcus got into Stanford. I got into community college. Marcus became a software engineer at Google. I became a graphic designer working freelance from my tiny apartment in Oakland. Marcus got engaged to a doctor named Stephanie. I got lectured about why I was still single at 27. Every family gathering was the same. My accomplishments were footnotes, my struggles were punchlines. When I told them I'd landed a contract with a major tech startup, my mother said, "That's nice, dear," and immediately turned to Marcus to ask about his promotion. When I showed up to Thanksgiving with a new car I'd saved 2 years to buy, Uncle Tom laughed and said, "Well, at least you're trying." When I cut my hair short because I liked it that way, Aunt Linda pulled my mother aside and whispered loud enough for me to hear, "Do you think she's going through something?" I wasn't going through something. I was just tired. Tired of being the punchline. Tired of being the one everyone forgot to invite until the last minute. Tired of being tolerated instead of loved. But that night, that October night at my parents' house in their sprawling 5-bedroom home with the perfectly manicured lawn, something inside me had already snapped. I'd been planning this for 3 months. Every detail, every word, every piece of evidence. The dinner was supposed to celebrate Marcus and Stephanie's engagement. The dining room smelled like roasted chicken and my mother's expensive perfume. The table was set with her fancy china, the kind she only brought out when she wanted to impress people. Everyone was dressed up, everyone except me. I wore jeans and a plain black sweater. My mother had given me a look when I walked in, the kind that said, "Really? You couldn't even try?" I sat at the far end of the table, the seat closest to the kitchen. The seat where people put the kids who aren't quite important enough to be in the main conversation. I was 27 years old, and I was still sitting at the kids' table in my own family. The conversation flowed around me like I wasn't even there. Marcus talked about his honeymoon plans. Stephanie showed off her ring for the 100th time. Aunt Linda bragged about Jennifer's new job at a law firm. Uncle Tom complained about taxes and then laughed about the boat he'd just bought. And then my mother stood up, glass in hand, that practiced smile on her face. The one she used in her real estate photos. The one that didn't reach her eyes. "I just want to say," she began, her voice sugary sweet, "how proud I am of Marcus and Stephanie. They're proof that hard work and good choices lead to beautiful things." Everyone murmured in agreement. My father nodded. Marcus grinned. And then her eyes landed on me. "Unlike some people," she continued, and I could feel it coming, who just drift through life waiting for things to happen to them. A few uncomfortable chuckles. My stomach tightened. She took a sip of her wine, emboldened by the attention. "You know what I was thinking earlier? If Rebecca died tomorrow, no one would even miss her." The room erupted in laughter. Not nervous laughter, not uncomfortable laughter. Real, genuine, gut-busting laughter like she'd just told the joke of the century. My Aunt Linda actually slapped the table. My cousin Mark doubled over. Marcus tried to hide his smirk but failed. Stephanie looked uncomfortable for half a second, then laughed along because she didn't want to be left out. And my father? My father, who I once thought loved me, who used to take me to the park when I was little, who promised he'd always protect me, laughed into his napkin like a man who'd given up fighting a long time ago. I stared at my water glass, watched the condensation drip down the side, counted to 10 in my head, then 20, then 30. The laughter started to die down. Someone cleared their throat. My mother sat down, still smiling, pleased with herself. That's when I looked up. "Are you done?" I asked quietly. The table went still. Not silent yet. Just still. Like everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. My mother tilted her head. That condescending look she always gave me when I dared to speak up. "Oh, Rebecca, don't be so sensitive. It was just a joke." I nodded slowly. "That's okay," I said, my voice calm, too calm, the kind of calm that comes right before a hurricane. Because I've been waiting too. I reached into my bag, the canvas tote I'd brought with me, the one my mother had rolled her eyes at when I walked in because it wasn't appropriate for a nice dinner. I pulled out a manila envelope, thick, official looking, and I placed it on the table right next to the roasted chicken. My mother frowned. "What is that?" "Open it," I said. She hesitated. Uncle Tom leaned forward. Marcus set down his fork. My mother picked up the envelope like it might bite her. She opened it slowly, pulled out the papers inside, and started reading. I watched her face change. Confusion first, then recognition, then pure, unadulterated horror. This can't be real," she whispered. "It's real," I said. "Those are medical records from Riverside General Hospital, from last November, the night I tried to kill myself." The silence that followed wasn't just quiet, it was suffocating, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes you hear your own heartbeat. My Aunt Linda's fork clattered against her plate, Stephanie's hand flew to her mouth, Marcus went pale. "The night I swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills," I continued, my voice steady, mechanical, like I was reading a grocery list, and called 911 myself because I realized at the last second that I didn't actually want to die. I just wanted someone to notice I was drowning. My mother's hands were shaking, the papers trembled. "They pumped my stomach," I said, "kept me for 72 hours on a psychiatric hold. I was in a hospital room by myself, staring at white walls, wondering if anyone would even visit. I looked around the table. Every single person was frozen. You know how many people came to see me?" I asked. "Zero, not one of you, because I never told you. I put down my roommate as my emergency contact instead of family, and you know what? None of you even noticed I was gone." My father finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Rebecca." "I was missing for 3 days. I cut him off. 3 days. And not one of you called. Not one text. Not one. 'Hey, haven't heard from you, you okay?' Nothing." My mother's face had gone from pink to white to gray. We didn't know." "That's the point, Mom," I said, and for the first time, my voice cracked. "You didn't know, because you never bothered to look." I reached into my bag again and pulled out my phone, but that's not even the worst part. I opened my voice memos app, found the recording I'd been saving, the one I'd made 2 months ago when I came to visit and everyone thought I was in the bathroom. I pressed play. My mother's voice filled the dining room, crystal clear, unmistakable. "I'm just saying, Linda, it would be so much easier if Rebecca would just move away. Like, far away. Maybe she'd finally figure her life out if she wasn't constantly comparing herself to Marcus." Aunt Linda's voice responded, "You ever think about just cutting her off? Stop inviting her to things?" My mother laughed, actually laughed. "Sometimes I wish I could, but David won't let me, says it looks bad." My father's voice, quiet, but present. "She's our daughter, Patricia." "Barely." My mother scoffed. "She was an accident, you know that. We were done after Marcus. She wasn't planned, wasn't wanted. I love her because I have to, not because I want to." I stopped the recording. The silence was deafening. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. My father stared at his plate. Marcus's mouth hung open. "So, when you said no one would miss me if I died," I said softly, "you were right, because you never wanted me here in the first place." I stood up, grabbed my bag, and looked at each of them one by one. "Enjoy your perfect family dinner," I said. "I won't be ruining any more of them." And I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I just left. The drive back to Oakland was a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel. My phone started buzzing before I even hit the freeway. Text after text, call after call. Marcus, we need to talk. Aunt Linda, you had no right to do that. Uncle Tom, you embarrassed your mother. I turned my phone off and drove in silence. When I got home, my roommate Sarah took one look at my face and made me tea without asking questions. That's the difference between family and the people who actually love you. The people who love you don't need an explanation to show up. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I'd drop my truth bomb, walk away, and finally have peace. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls. When I turned on my phone, it immediately started buzzing. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Voicemails from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. And then I saw it, the Facebook post. My mother had written a novel, a beautiful, tragic, perfectly crafted story about a troubled daughter who was crying out for help. About a family doing everything they could to support her but being met with anger and resentment at every turn. My heart is broken, she wrote. I've tried so hard to be there for Rebecca, but she refuses help. Tonight she lashed out in front of our entire family, making false accusations and playing a recording taken out of context. I'm sharing this because I want other parents to know sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to let go and let them find their own way, even when it destroys you. The post had 300 likes, and all 150 comments, all of them supportive. You're such a strong mother, Patricia. Some people are beyond help. Praying for your family. I stared at my phone, rage building in my chest like a volcano. She'd flipped the script, made herself the victim, made me the villain. And everyone believed her. I called the one person I knew would tell me the truth, my therapist, Dr. Sarah Winters, the woman who'd been helping me put the pieces of myself back together for the past year. They're gaslighting you, she said calmly when I explained what happened. This is what narcissists do. When they're exposed, they rewrite history. Everyone believes her, I said, my voice breaking. Not everyone, Dr. Winters replied. The people who matter know the truth. But what do I do? You document everything, she said. Every message, every post, every lie. You protect yourself, and you remember that their reaction proves you were right to leave. So that's what I did. I screenshot every Facebook comment, every text message, every voicemail. I created a folder on my laptop labeled Evidence and started building a case. Not for court, not for revenge, just for me. So that years from now, when I doubted myself, when I wondered if maybe I was the crazy one, I'd have proof. But my family wasn't done. 3 days later, my brother showed up at my apartment. I answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, hair unbrushed, eyes puffy from crying. Can I come in? Marcus asked. I stepped aside, let him in. We sat on opposite ends of my thrift store couch. That was really messed up what you did, he started. I laughed. Actually laughed. What I did? You humiliated Mom in front of everyone. She told everyone I wouldn't be missed if I died, Marcus. She literally said that. He ran his hands through his hair. She was joking. It wasn't a joke, I shouted, surprising both of us. You laughed. Dad laughed. Everyone laughed. At the idea of me being dead. He went quiet. Do you have any idea what that feels like? I asked, my voice dropping to a whisper. To hear your own mother say that? To watch your entire family agree? I didn't think. That's the problem. I cut him off. None of you think. None of you see me. I'm just the backup child, the one you keep around for appearances. Marcus looked at his hands. I didn't know about the hospital. Would it have mattered if you did? He didn't answer. When's the last time you called me just to talk? I asked. Not because Mom told you to, not because you needed something, just to see how I was doing? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. What do you want me to do? He asked finally. Nothing, I said. I don't want anything from you anymore. That's the point. He stood up. Looked like he wanted to say something else. Didn't. For what it's worth, he said at the door. I'm sorry. I should have noticed. Yeah, I said. You should have. He left. I locked the door behind him and slid down to the floor. That's when I started getting the emails. The first one came from my mother's sister, Aunt Carol, who lived in Seattle and rarely came to family events. "Rebecca," it read, "I heard about what happened. I believe you. Call me." I called. "Your mother has been like this your whole life," Aunt Carol said. "I stopped coming to family gatherings because I couldn't watch it anymore." "Why didn't you say something?" I asked. "I tried," she said. "Years ago, your dad asked me to stay out of it, said it would make things worse for you." My hands clenched. "So you just left me there?" "I know," she said quietly. "I'm sorry. I should have fought harder." "What do I do now?" I asked. "You keep going," she said. "You build a life they can't touch, and you remember that DNA doesn't make a family, love does." The second email came from someone I didn't expect, my father. "Rebecca, can we talk? Just you and me. Please." I didn't respond. He sent another email, then another, then he showed up at my work. I was leaving the coffee shop where I sometimes worked on designs when I saw him standing by my car. "I'm not going to apologize for showing up," he said before I could speak. "You won't answer my calls." "What do you want?" I asked, arms crossed. "To explain." "There's nothing to explain. I heard what you said on that recording." "I know." He looked older than I remembered, tired. "I should have stood up for you. I should have done it a long time ago." "But you didn't." "No," he agreed. "I didn't. I told myself I was keeping the peace, that it was easier to just let your mother have her way. I was a coward." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. "You let her destroy me." "I know." "You laughed when she said no one would miss me." "I know." "And you want me to what? Forgive you?" He shook his head. "No, I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know that I'm leaving her." I froze. "What?" "I filed for divorce yesterday," he said. "I should have done it years ago. Maybe things would have been different for you if I had." "This isn't about me." "It's exactly about you," he cut me off. "Listening to that recording, hearing her say you weren't wanted, that she only loves you because she has to, something broke in me. I've been making excuses for her for 30 years. I'm done." We stood there in the parking lot, two broken people trying to figure out how to exist in the wreckage. "I don't know if I can have you in my life right now," I said finally. "I understand," he said, "but I'll be here when you're ready, if you're ever ready." He walked away. I sat in my car and cried for an hour. The weeks that followed were chaos. My mother escalated. She created a GoFundMe for mental health support for families dealing with troubled adult children. She went on local mom Facebook groups talking about parental alienation. She even convinced my grandmother to call me and beg me to stop destroying the family. "I'm not destroying anything," I told Grandma. "I'm just telling the truth." "Sometimes the truth is better left unsaid," Grandma replied. "So I should just lie? Pretend everything's fine?" "I'm just saying, family is family. You forgive and move on." "I tried that for 27 years, I said. "I'm done." The gossip spread like wildfire through our community. People who'd known me since I was a kid suddenly had opinions about my mental health, my character, my relationship with my family. Some believed my mother. Some believed me. Most just wanted the drama. But something unexpected started happening. People started reaching out, people I'd gone to high school with, old coworkers, friends I hadn't spoken to in years. "I believe you," they'd say. "I always thought your mom was weird about you." "I noticed," they'd say. "You were always trying so hard and she never saw it." "You're brave," they'd say. "I could never stand up to my family like that." Each message was a tiny piece of validation. A small reminder that I wasn't crazy, that what I experienced was real. And then came the message that changed everything. It was from my mother's former business partner, a woman named Janet who'd worked with her for 5 years before they had a falling out. "Rebecca, I don't know if you remember me, but I worked with your mother until 2019. I have something you need to see." We met at a Starbucks in Sacramento. Janet brought a folder. "When your mom and I had our falling out," Janet explained, "she tried to ruin my reputation, told clients I was embezzling, told our mutual friends I was unstable. It almost destroyed my business." "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," Janet said. "Because I kept everything. Every email, every text, every lie she told. She slid the folder across the table. She has a pattern. You're not the first person she's done this to. You're just the first one who's her daughter. I opened the folder. Inside were printouts of messages, testimonials from other people my mother had hurt, documentation of lies she'd spread about Janet and others. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because she needs to be stopped, Janet said. And because you deserve to know you're not alone. I took the folder home and added it to my growing collection of evidence. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight my mother on her turf. I wasn't going to engage in social media battles or family drama. I was going to do something she'd never expect. I was going to build a life so beautiful, so peaceful, so full of people who actually loved me, that her opinion wouldn't matter anymore. I started saying no to family events, no to guilt trips, no to people who wanted me to be the bigger person and forgive. I started saying yes to therapy, yes to boundaries, yes to friendships with people who saw me, really saw me, and chose me anyway. I joined a support group for people healing from narcissistic family systems, heard story after story that sounded like mine, cried with strangers who understood in ways my family never would. Slowly, painfully, I started to heal. But my mother wasn't done. 6 months after the dinner, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door and there she was, mascara smudged, hair disheveled, looking nothing like the put-together real estate agent she presented to the world. "Can I come in?" she asked. "No," I said. "Rebecca, please." "No," I repeated. "You don't get to show up here and demand anything from me. I'm your mother." "You're the woman who gave birth to me," I corrected. "There's a difference." She flinched. "I know I've made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "You told a room full of people no one would miss me if I died. You told your sister I was an accident you didn't want. You've spent 27 years making me feel like I was a burden just for existing. Those aren't mistakes, that's a pattern." "I never meant." "Yes, you did," I cut her off. "You meant every word. You just didn't think I'd ever call you on it." Her face crumpled. For a moment, I saw something that might have been real emotion, regret maybe, or just frustration that she'd lost control. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Nothing," I said. "That's what you don't understand. I don't want your apology. I don't want your money. I don't want a relationship. I want nothing from you." "You can't mean that." "I do," I said firmly. "You spent my entire life making me feel invisible. Now I'm making it official. I'm done. Rebecca, I'm your mother. You can't just cut me off." "Watch me," I said, and closed the door. She knocked for 5 more minutes, begged, cried, threatened. I sat on my couch with my headphones on, listening to music, and waited for her to leave. When the knocking finally stopped, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But the kind of quiet that comes when you finally stop fighting a battle you were never going to win. The aftermath was brutal. My mother launched a full-scale smear campaign. She told everyone who would listen that I was mentally unstable, that I'd made everything up, that I was dangerous. Some people believed her. But you know what? Some people didn't. My father finalized his divorce. He sent me a letter afterward. Didn't ask for a response. Just wanted me to know he was building his own life now, separate from her chaos. Marcus called me once, 3 months after I closed the door on our mother. We talked for an hour. He apologized, really apologized, for everything. For the years of neglect, for the laughter, for not protecting me when I needed it. "I don't know if we can fix this," he said. "Maybe we can't," I agreed, "but maybe that's okay. We're not close now, probably never will be, but at least we're honest. Aunt Carol and I talk every few weeks. She's become something like a mentor, shows me what healthy family relationships actually look like. Dr. Winters says I'm making progress, says the fact that I can talk about all of this without completely falling apart is a sign of growth. I'm not healed, not fully, maybe I never will be. But I'm free. Free from the weight of trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it. Free from the expectation that I should shrink myself to make others comfortable. Free from the lie that family is everything, even when family is poison." A year after that dinner, I moved to Portland, Oregon. Started fresh in a city where no one knew my mother. No one had opinions about my family drama. No one expected me to perform. I got a job at a design firm, made friends with my coworkers, started dating someone who thought I was wonderful exactly as I was. On the anniversary of that dinner, I posted something on social media. The only thing I'd posted in months. 1 year ago, I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I'm still learning what it means to build a life on my own terms, but I'm getting there. To everyone who told me I'd regret cutting off my family, you were wrong. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. The post got 23 likes, a handful of supportive comments. My mother didn't see it. I'd blocked her months ago. But I know she heard about it, because she sent a letter to my old address, and Sarah forwarded it to me. I didn't open it. I threw it in the trash where it belonged. Some people say I'm cold for that I should at least read what she has to say. But I've heard enough. I've given enough. I've tried enough. Now I'm choosing me. It's strange how silence changes its meaning once you stop fearing it. For years, silence meant being ignored, being forgotten, being invisible. Now silence means peace, safety, space to breathe. I have a small apartment with plants in every window. I have friends who show up when I need them. I have a life that's mine, built on my terms, with people who chose me not because they had to, but because they wanted to. I have a therapist I trust, a job I love, a future that feels possible. And I have something my mother will never understand. I have myself. The girl who sat at the end of that table, listening to her own family laugh at the thought of her death, is still here. But she's different now. She's not waiting for anyone's approval anymore. She's not trying to prove her worth to people who will never see it. She's just living, breathing, existing without apology. And that, I'm learning, is the most radical act of all. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry, if I hate my mother. The truth is more complicated than that. I'm not angry anymore. Anger requires energy, requires engagement, requires caring. I'm just done. Done trying to fix what was always broken. Done trying to make people love me who never wanted to. Done setting myself on fire to keep others warm. My mother said no one would miss me if I died. She was right. Her version of me, the one who shrunk herself and apologized for existing, the one who tried so hard to be good enough, that girl is dead. And no one misses her. Not even me. Because in her place is someone stronger, someone who knows her worth isn't determined by the people who were supposed to love her but couldn't. Someone who understands that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up, who stays, who sees you and loves you anyway. My chosen family is small, but it's real. And I wouldn't trade it for all the fake love in the world. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you've ever had to walk away from toxic family. Your story matters too. Because here's the truth they don't tell you about cutting off toxic family. It's not dramatic. It's not satisfying. It's not some big movie moment where everyone realizes they were wrong and begs for your forgiveness. It's quiet. It's waking up one day and realizing you haven't thought about them in a week. It's building a life so full of genuine love that their absence doesn't leave a hole. It's understanding that you were never the problem, no matter how many times they tried to convince you otherwise. It's choosing yourself, over and over, until choosing yourself becomes natural. And it's knowing that somewhere out there, the family who laughed when your mother said you wouldn't be missed is probably still telling their version of the story. But you're not there to hear it anymore. And that makes all the difference.